What I really like is to present models that matter to a lot of people, accessible cars. And this is one of those, the all-new Mazda 3, a typical compact-sized vehicle available as hatch and sedan, goes in the new generation. It's not only that the exterior has changed a lot, also the technology. And here on Autogefühl, your number one resource for in-depth car reviews and your number one community to discuss cars with Thomas, we're going to tell you all about it. Exterior changes, the new interior, and of course the technology with this new Skyactiv X engine. Let's go! This would usually be the place where I start like, oh, it starts with halogen lamps and it starts with a less sporty front grille and then optionally you go for this trim and this trim and this trim. But interestingly, Mazda does reduce the complexity now. They don't want to differentiate like, oh, only the sports trim guys get a great front grille or something. They actually want to offer the same sporty design throughout the whole model lineup. A very interesting approach, and I think that's really good for the customer. Also, LED comes as standard headlamps. They could only fit them as well anyway, because it's a very slim opening with a three-dimensional shape here. It's just that you can go for the high beam option and go for the matrix LED lights as an option. But I think you'll also be just fine with the normal LED lamps. Then you can see a huge front grille now with a sporty look with this glossy black dot structure. The logo will always be 2D now, not only optional, because the autonomous emergency brake is standard equipment, so you always need the sensors which are then hidden behind that logo. But they at least try to give it a little three-dimensional shape still, also because it's a little bit higher here, set off from the front grille. You can see it's also symmetrical split, and again a very sporty design for a compact vehicle. And again, this is no special sport design line, and I think it's also one of the key elements here of the all-new Mazda 3. 4 meters 45 or 14 foot 6 is the total length, and it hasn't really changed if you think about the predecessor. It's a little bit different with the sedan, we will soon show you that. Let's stick with the hatch first. This soul red color, in some markets it will also be called magma red, is a very interesting one because you can see different shades right there depending on where the light is coming. And then this very new prominent C-pillar here. This has been the same with the concept car of this vehicle we've shown you earlier. And they actually kept your feedback. They have read your comments and said, oh, when you really like that, we also try to implement that in the series production model, Mazda told me. Interesting. Then you can see there's no real dropping line, all of the round shapes here around the door handles, so they also try to make the design less complicated and therefore also more timeless. Rims will be either be 16-inch or then directly 18-inch. This one is the top model, but 16-inch already with the aluminum rims. So the only thing that is optional with this car is that you have the bigger rim choice. They also say that prices will go up a little bit because you'll already start with bigger engines. Soon I'll tell you more about that. And also some more extra equipment on interior, also soon more about that. But still they promise, for example, like a German price, 21,000 as an entry price. I think that's still quite attractive, also considering the equipment you will get later. We'll soon talk about that. What do you think about the new Mazda 3 design? With the hatch first. And for this rear part you can also get this wing. You can also get a little bit bigger, so to say, here in the black contrast. So of course there's still some options left you can go to. The rear really looks like a sports car. Well, we might lose some interior trunk space there because the rear window is really flat. It does not have this typical hatch style. More looks like a Fastback already here. Then those LED signature tail lamps right there. I think it's a beautiful design job and also a very daring job because compact hatches tend to be rather boring. But this one here, for sure, exciting for a standard production model. In the lower part, you can have this contrast between the red and the black, depending, by the way, also how it looks like on camera. It's really true red tone. It's not orange or something. On this fair show light, it might be a little bit deceiving sometimes on camera. This one is the Skyactiv X engine. We'll soon take a look at, by the way. And also we can see AWD letters here. That's not common for Mazda. The Skyactiv X engine will firstly now introduce again an all-wheel drive option there. Very interesting. Soon tell you more about that. Let's just check the lower end. And this is a real exhaust. It has a decent size, and even on the other side, it's a true exhaust. I mean, the outer tip is a little bit bigger, just around, but it's a true exhaust, no fake exhaust. Think also an honest design right here. So far, I think, I'm pretty much surprised that they took such a daring approach and really took almost everything of the concept into this series production model. Or what do you think? And by the way, just taking a look under the chassis, it is a completely new chassis and it's stiffer than the outgoing model. That should also contribute to a more agile driving part. So we're not allowed to open the hood here today, all pre-production models, but let me just show you the hood once more to talk more about the engines. So there will be a 1.8 liter diesel engine with 116 horsepower. Then there will be a normal petrol engine, 2 liter petrol engine with 122 horsepower. The Skyactiv G, and then there will be the new Skyactiv X, also 2 liter, but this one 181 horsepower. Interesting that first of all it can be combined with all-wheel drive, but the more interesting thing is that it uses basically technology that is between petrol and diesel. So there's a compressor in the engine. First time they use something like that, and so before with the petrol engines they were just naturally aspirated. This one then here with the compressor can also initiate self-ignition, which would usually be reserved for a diesel, but not with a petrol engine. So interesting technology. More about that technology in our tech workshop special. We have a separate video about that. We'll link that below if you want to know more about technology. Interesting to know is it will have more power for sure. At the same time, it's supposed to have less consumption because it should have basically combining both advantages from petrol and diesel. We'll see about that, how it will be playing out in reality when we have the driving test. Again, in the other video we have some more tech deals about, but really interesting that they offer something more because the naturally aspirated engines so far, they were quite good from consumption standpoint and also realistic. But then again, sometimes it lacked some power if you want to push it through on the motorway or something. There they have a new alternative now for you. What do you think? Let's take a look at the interior of the hatch here first. Inside of the doors, not entirely hard, but also not super soft, but here is softer. Then you can see new window levers. We'll also compare it soon how it looks like in the Sedan. It's an optional Bose sound system. Door pockets right there. There's also, I mean, it's not really special that you can bend that one here. So when you take a look at here, this is very interesting. So first of all, I got a leatherette cover of the dashboard there. Then the top part is also soft. Completely new steering wheel with the button integration here, for example, for the volume. And this also feels better when you just use it. Then you can already see the instruments right there. They're part analog, part digital, and feature a 7-inch screen now, 7-inch digital screen. That's really interesting. And there's the new big screen right there, which is then at 8.8 inch. And this always comes with this very setup, both left and right. So it's really good that they don't offer like 3 different screen options where you not really know where you end up to. Totally new designed seats, optional animal skin pack, but you go with the fabric seats first as base, which we would recommend. And they've changed the form to add some more comfort. I will also soon in the Sedan elaborate a little bit more about that. Let's take a seat here already in the hatch. And I'll also tell you later if hatch and Sedan is any different. In the front it will be the same, I can already tell you so far. 1.86 m of Secret One leaves a little bit room above my head right there. This is also equipped with the panoramic roof. You will have a little bit more headroom if you leave out any glass roof. This one here with a dark ceiling. The Sedan that we're going to show you very soon, also on the interior, will have a bright ceiling. And indeed, it's a more comfortable seating position. So this one has been improved if you compare the predecessor. The steering wheel is, by the way, not only height and also reach adjustable, and 20 millimeters more also as for the reach, so you can easier find a good position now, or maybe if you want to ride it at some point. This one here is the electric seat option. You can also get just manual seats. A small cubby hole here in the front, by the way. Very interesting, maybe some for very small items. And that's also the place where the memory seat is positioned. You have 2 memory seating positions. Usually you have maybe 2 drivers, and then you're also fine with storing your electric setting. So this new interior setup, very interesting. Head-up display is right there. We will project into the windscreen, very interesting. A little bit voluminous now then with the cover right there. Then the new 8.8-inch widescreen is integrated here in a very, let's say spectacular way. They really want to see, hello, this is where the screen is integrated. The leatherette cover here, I think that is nicely done, also with contrast stitches. And overall a clean design. Well, like those air vents, maybe not that clean as well designed, but here, especially this area, you still have manual control of the vents, of the temperature. That's really cool. I just like to do that, while driving. It's the easier solution than anything else. Seat heating is right there. One USB plug. Then again, look at the steering wheel from here. It makes a little sporty impression, and soon going to be able to drive that. And from this perspective, you can also see that the 7-inch screen is basically the middle part, and that the right part of those instruments are analog each. Well, in the lower part, you will also, it's actually quite dark there in the front, I should maybe light that up with the smartphone just a little bit, so you can see more of that. And then you have some, spot to put your smartphone here in the very front. Also some adaptive cup holders. And then you can have a sport mode button in the middle part right there next to the shifting lever. Well, the screen, so far when the Mazda was standing still, that's their safety philosophy, you can use a touchscreen, and when it's driving, then you can't. Now, you can't at all. So they have removed the touch function. Wow. So where everyone else was going the other way and also adding the touch function, they went for this multi-commander stick now in the lower part. I think that's a bad decision. You can understand from safety philosophy, but when you offer both, you can first time use the touch while standing still, and then the command driving stuff there, like the navigator in the lower part when driving something. So let's take a look here how it looks like. Think that's not working at the moment here. Not all functions are always available here in the show cars. You can connect your phone via Bluetooth, but there's also the option for, well, not the option, sorry. The Apple CarPlay and the Android Auto is standard equipment. So that's pretty cool. I think also a good solution that they have one screen, and also always then with the smartphone connectivity. That's pretty cool. So you don't have to care about that you maybe miss something as for this. Maybe there's Apple CarPlay and Android Auto settings, and you'll be just able to plug them in, and then let's go. Yeah, this wide screen makes a good impression, but then I ask myself, why have they made it so wide here, right and left, and then there's just a small screen in the middle? I think that could have been improved a little bit. So this is then where you control the screen completely. It also has an interesting clicking sound. Then you go back, hotkey for the GPS, for example, hotkey for music, then for sound, turning up and down, but you can also do that at the steering wheel. Home button, so it is very well to control, and the menu is also quite easy, so it is somewhat okay, especially while driving, but then again, I think they should have kept at least the touch option. So the middle armrest is really soft on the top part. We can slide it backwards and then also open it completely. The build quality here is questionable. However, it's a show car, it's a pre-production vehicle. We'll see how it plays on with a real production vehicle then later on. And if you open it, there's reasonable space on the inside, also a 12-volt power supply and another USB charger to then charge everything. That's the SD card slot for the map data, then it would also work. So what about the rear? Pretty impressive how that rear door is opening, and you can take half of the C-pillar here in your hand. So first of all, you can see the setup here. It will get a little bit close, however, with the same material on the rear door than in the front door. Also again with the plush leatherette here, for example, and those new window levers right there. So let's get inside. At least let's try And you see, that gets really close. So at the moment, I would push my knees to the front passenger. Let's see if this one will be any better in the sedan, because the sedan is a little bit longer, as I said earlier. Headroom, well, the roof raises a little bit. I touch my head on the ceiling just a little bit. I guess it will also be a little bit better in the longer sedan. But, I mean, it is somewhat possible. But for tall adults, if you go with 4 tall adults, it will get really close. Probably then you have to step up a game and go for the Mazda 6. This one, rather than a vehicle set up for more comfort in the front with those new bigger seats also, if you're more traveling with 2 people or maybe with kids in the back, because that's possible with the ISOFIX here at the outside parts. But for tall adults in the rear, it's not the optimum setup. Some cup holders right there. There's no middle climate unit or something, but we're still also in the compact segment. Think about that, they also try to keep the price low. But so great things we've seen from this car, but the rear legroom is probably one of the things you can criticize. So if we open the hatch here now, pretty interesting. You can see you can easier access it. 360 liters is here. The sedan has more liters capacity. It's also longer in the trunk. I can, here I can really reach to the end. But this one I can easier access, so it's better to load in. Of course, you're a little bit limited due to this really interesting design. You are limited in the height, especially in the front area here. It will be better if you go a little bit further. Below here you can also fit a replacement tire. That might be interesting. And this is also equipped with the Bose sound equipment on the inside right there. And let's see if we flip the seats. Cannot do it from here. That's also standard with compact hatches. We have to go around. And then we flip the seats like this. Can you? Yeah, thank you so much.
No problem.
Great. So this is possible, and then if we go to the other side,
Yeah, your head
it's
like getting
a little bit complicated to do it from here. So like this, there's someone in the driver's seat at the moment, so that will be almost completely flat. They can also load through longer things. So this is not an electric tailgate, but you can already close it here. For example, when you finish your groceries or something and get home or something. So you close it then right here. Don't have to do it with the key. And this is also interesting. You can use this grab from the inside, that you don't make your hands dirty when you maybe put it on the outside when the car is dirty from the outside. So interesting solution. And now we are switching over to the sedan. It is also called Fastback by Mazda. Although I'm not quite sure if it's a fastback, we will find out. Also, there are some parts which are a little bit different from the hatch. Also, length's a little bit different. Let's tell you more about that. The basic front shape is the very same, but they had an interesting idea. They want to make the hatch more sporty from the front grille, and this one here a little bit more elegant. So this does not have the vertical dot structure, but this more horizontal dot design. It's very interesting, depending also the angle you look at it. So the sedan will always look like this in the front, whereas the hatch will always get the other front grille. Again, they are both similar, but I think it's also an interesting idea to differentiate hatch and sedan a little bit in the design. Or what do you think? The sedan is at 4.66 m or 15'2", and that is 8 centimeters longer than the predecessor. So whereas the hatch rather remained the same in length, the sedan's a little bit longer, for example, especially for the US market, also referring to the interior size then. And then there's also a bigger gap in the length between the hatch and the sedan, which is then at about 20 centimeters difference. We see how that one will play out on the interior. In general, you can see this are also more elegant rim choices, so also 18-inch, but the other ones, of course, a little bit sportier. This one here, again, then tuned also more on elegance. You can, however, pick either color for that, and there's also a matte gray finish available, which also looks very interesting. Again, also with a rather round sensor shape at the rear, and then we have this typical falling design line at the roof. Also a little round shape right there. So the hatch definitely looks more dramatic. The sedan looks more classic. And you can see the C shape of this C pillar. It does not come out that strong as in the hatch, because the roof somehow catches it. And I already see it here now. It's not a fastback to me, because then the rear window will lift up. It's just a separate trunk we'll soon take a look at. Which one do you like best? Hatch or sedan? In the rear you can again see the new tail lamps, but here in the sedan version you can see it looks again less dramatic, so the all-new hatch looks somehow newer, although they share a lot of stuff. But then again, as you have this typical sedan hatch style, it takes from this traditional building style a little bit away from these new elements. Still, I think it is very well designed, very voluminous here in this lower area. I think they could also use the length a little bit more, probably has just design reasons. And this one is, by the way, also the Skyactiv G, so it's not the new Skyactiv X engine. This one here, the classic petrol one. Taking a look at the interior of the sedan, here again with those new door handles. Let's check the door closing sound here. That could sound a little bit better, but then, you know, I'm a very diligent car tester. Then interior, the top part here is, well, it's not entirely hard, but it's also not super soft. It's something in between. This one here, a leatherette cover, very well integrated with those handles. Optional Bose sound system, that's one of the options left. They've increased also the build quality here of the window levers. Before that, it was really, really cheap. Now, as decent build quality also for that. It's a rather slim door pocket, but should also be still possible for some models. Then, well, it's hard to see now in this motor show light. It's really dark. Also the all black interior. But you can see the total new steering wheel, which looks more modern, sporty and slim. Also better integrated with those buttons, for example. Soon more to displays and stuff. The seats have a completely new form. This one is the optional animal skin package. It will also start with fabric seats, which we recommend because they stay cooler in summer and also warmer in winter times. Electric seat control in this case. And interesting is, when I take a seat right now, we already know from our prototype drive that the seat form has been changed to increase the comfort, that it's more following the natural S form of your spine. And indeed, if you just take a seat here and compare it to the predecessor, this one here is way more comfortable. It doesn't feel like, you know, especially when you're taller, I mean 1m86 or 6'1", you sometimes get into compact cars and say like, okay, it's fine, but I don't want to spend like 2 or 3 hours in the car. And then you get like in a mid-size or upper mid-size vehicle and you say like, this is really decent comfort. And here now with this new seat form, you realize it immediately that you just feel better when just sitting in the car. So this is also one of the big improvements. Your pelvis is supposed to stay a little bit more upright, and this is even increased when you lift the seat a little bit higher in the very rear. Interesting. Then there's a manual control here for the steering wheel in reach and height, like this, so you can find a proper position. The interior, when you look to the front, also feels a little bit sportier, a little bit more voluminous, because here they have now also hidden the new head-up display that will be available. It's also built in this car. That, however, makes this part more voluminous. Leatherette cover here, and the top part here is also from Soft Touch, like that. And I also like that they have a bright ceiling here on the interior everywhere with the sedan. I would prefer that over an all black setup. So if you look a little bit, more above here, so you have a little bit more light. By the way, if I put my seat in the lowest position, let's check the headroom right here. It leaves some headroom. It's maybe not for the tallest people when you have this panoramic roof, but you see it does still work for taller drivers. And again, best thing is that they have improved the seating comfort. I can already feel it right now. So the interior of the sedan is not really different. Just to show you it briefly, black leatherette cover right there, also with the integrated screen, which will always be the case, and the climate unit. Again, just from this perspective here, those vents here on the right side, they look a little bit strange, but maybe they designed that and then said, oh, wait a minute, we forgot some vents. Let's put them somewhere. What do you think how that one came to place? This one here has a glass roof. You see here with this manual cover, that's fine. Then you can also open it if the car would be powered. Let's now check the rear here with the sedan. And, well, it does exactly fit somehow, but it's not really, I would have expected more here, actually. So, I mean, the new seats here are very thick. So, and especially since the sedan is longer, I really would have expected more legroom here. So far, a lot of the stuff that we saw with the car is really excellent, awesome, great price performance and stuff. But the interior, some of the stuff where they are not up to date with the competition, now definitely better with the build quality in this generation. But I think the legroom here is the key problem of this vehicle, if there is one. And headroom here in the sedan, see the roof is falling just a little bit. I do hit not my head, but my hairs already. In the middle part here, there's again some cup holders with a middle armrest. The seating position itself is quite okay, but again, really have some problems where to put my leg here properly. And by the way, the materials on the rear door are just the same as on the front door, so it's not a super hard pack, it's a little bit soft here. I think it's quite okay what they've used here for the interior materials. And Isofix here also at the outside of the seats. The middle seat is also usable, but again with the middle tunnel here, where they also reserved that for the all-wheel drive, and well, that's not really an adult seating position here in the middle part, so it's rather like for two adults for sure. So what about the trunk? This is different here with the sedan, whereas we had this 360 liter with the hatch, 440 liters here. And you can see here, you're a little bit limited, of course, when loading in and out, but it is definitely longer. This is very interesting then. And you flip the seats, then from the rear here, you have to release them right here and here. And then you have to go around and can flip them from the rear part here. Here we go. And here we go. And then we have the maximum setup. Of course, here the front seat would have to be a little bit more on the front. Well, we have already experienced the Mazda 3 as a prototype drive, and I can already tell you it drives really much better than the previous generation. More silent. As for the noise insulation, also more dynamic, and of course, since you have this compressor, then when you pick that engine, more powerful. Also in the exterior, you see it stayed relatively close to the concept vehicle, which you guys also really loved. So a more sensual design, less complicated design lines too, and a very interesting color. Quality upgrade on the interior and more seating comfort. That would be very important to me. And I think it's a very good approach where a lot of different manufacturers go for very complicated price lists or build configurators. They actually reduce the complexity. Yes, the entry price is a little bit higher, but you get already a bigger engine and you have more extra equipment. It's finally a vehicle where you could go to the showroom and say, just leave the base model as it is, don't go for any options, and you'll still be fine. And I think we need more of those cars, really. What do you think? Tell me in the comments. And also join us when we drive the standard model here of the all-new Mazda 3 very soon in our full driving review on Autogefühl.